Well, good morning, everyone. Today is 26th May, Sunday, and I'm preparing this recording just to give you some tips how to study some important points in regards to coming test one. So I'm going to go ahead and I put some notes. Those notes will also be attached. So let's start with chapter one. Okay, chapter one. We got to know what is parameter and what is statistics, right? And what is quantitative variable, what is qualitative variable. We also need to know that. We need to know the sampling techniques. Now, students oftentimes mix this sampling techniques and experiment design. They are two different things. Sampling techniques is the way you collect your samples. Experiment design is the way you design your experiment. So there are lots of sampling techniques. It's in chapter one. Some of them I put down here, the important ones that you got to know. Make sure you know them. You know the differences between them. Research techniques, that's another thing. So you have a research question. What do you want to do in regards to be able to answer that research question? Would you rather to do a survey? Would you rather to do an observation? Would you design an experiment or a study, or would you do a simulation, and why? You got to know that also. And other topics in regards to chapter one: what does replication mean? What does control, placebo, blinding, and confounding variables mean? Right. So chapter one is lots of words, no math, no calculations in it, but there is a big portion of test one. I would want to say it's about 30% of test one is in chapter one. So you got to know that. All right, let's go to chapter two. So chapter two, we prepare frequency histograms. And there's an assignment in regards to that, your Unit 1 assignment. You are not going to prepare a histogram in the test, although you're allowed to use Excel. However, there will be a histogram given to you, for instance, like in that example, and we are going to ask you questions about that histogram. One or two histograms it could be. If there's two histograms, then you should be able to compare those histograms. But if you are able to read, can you read and interpret them, then you should be good. Once again, you're not going to prepare histograms in test one, but you are going to be given a histogram, one or two, and you're going to be asked some questions in regards to that. For instance, if you look at this question and this example here, so this is a histogram answering this question: driver's age between 18 and 25, and there we ask them how many speeding tickets did they receive in the last 5 years. So the key to read the histogram: what is represented on x-axis, what is represented on the y-axis, and what does it refer to, right? So I have 15 people, for instance, here, okay, who received no tickets. I have 20 people who received 1 ticket. I have 9 people who received 2 tickets. I have 3 people who received 5, and I have 1 person who received more than 4 tickets. So that's a way of reading it. I can say that this distribution is skewed to the right, right? And most of the people have taken 1 ticket. That number is 20. So by looking at this graph, I should be able to write down the frequencies and relative frequencies. Okay, sorry about my handwriting. I am writing it. It's now on my lap. Okay. So I should be able to find those. And there are examples of it in chapter 2. But this is a good example for getting prepared for test 1. All right. So that's about that, chapter 2. Now, chapter 3. So in chapter 3, we will be looking at what's mean, median, mode. We've done that. Do you know the pros and cons of each measures of center? When do we use mean? When do we use median? Right? Mean is sensitive, median is not. So if a distribution is skewed, in any way, skewed right or skewed left, we prefer to use median. If there's an outlier, we prefer to use median. If a distribution is cookie cutter symmetric, then we use mean. If we use mean, then we use standard deviation for the spread. If we use median, then we use IQR to be able to talk about the spread. So what are the comments in Excel comments, right? So for instance, for standard deviation of population and standard, oh, that's that wrong. Okay, so this is standard deviation of population, the purple one, I'm underlying it. The other one, okay, I'm underlying in green. This is the standard deviation of sample. They're two different, they're going to produce two different values, so make sure about that. So what is 5-number summary, and how do you find the 5-number summary values? That's also important. So when do you use 5-number summary? When do you use empirical rule? That's also important. 5-number summary, you use it if a distribution is skewed to right or left, or if you have an outlier. We use empirical rule if a distribution have a normal shape. Right? So what is empirical rule? What are those percentages? And how do you know the percentages on the x-axis, lower limit and upper limit of those percentages? For instance, 68% means that you are 1 standard deviation above and 1 standard deviation below the mean. 95% means that you are 2 standard deviations above and below the mean, and then so on and so forth. And last, final thing, z-score. What do you need to know the z-score? You need to know the mean and the standard deviation of the distribution, and you want to know the place of your data, how far your data is above or below the mean, right? Z-score doesn't have units. Also remember that. And what's the Excel command for the z-score? You also need to know that. You should be able to really read and interpret the graphs well. You should be able to identify what is wrong with the graph given. For instance, if the graph is not starting 0 intersection of x and y axis, that's a fault for the graph. That's a fault for the graph. Yes, that's all we can say. So yeah, that's all I wanted to emphasize by going over chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. I know it's too much. We've just been together for a week and a half, and you are having your first test 1. And usually we expect students to do well on test 1. Test 1 might be your best test score because it's the easiest one. Just spare some time. Just sit down and study. It's not difficult. You just need to invest some time. Probably about an hour or 2 for each chapter, and then you will be fine. Also, there's good Unit 1 review in the lab manual. The answer keys are posted. Just let me know, send me an email, or you can send a question to collaboration discussion board in general on the navigation menu. I can jump in and answer those questions also. Other than that, wish you good luck, enjoy and rest on your Memorial Day. Right, take care. Bye.